Niger. Karibu.
All right, thank you,
Uganda welcomes
Canary.
you.
Our permanent secretary, the chairperson of the board of directors for Uganda National Oil Company, our directors present, management of UNOC, the ministries, departments and agency representatives, business partners, our phase one investors, potential investors, and everyone watching us this morning. Thank you for joining us, and good morning. As a national oil company, our mandate is really to manage the commercial aspects of the oil and gas sector and ensure that we maximize value out of the oil and gas sector across the entire petroleum value chain in the upstream, midstream, downstream operations where we participate on behalf of the state. And our mission is to sustainably develop and manage these states' commercial interests in a way that meaningfully contributes to Uganda's socio-economic transformation and with the sole purpose of creating value for generations. And UNOC's vision looks ahead towards profitability by 2030 as we operate across the petroleum value chain. As our board chairman indicated, in 2019, Cabinet approved UNOC's participation in Uganda's midstream projects, refinery, East African crude oil pipeline, Kampala storage terminal, the park, the Petrobest Industrial Park, which is the reason as to why we are here today. We have quite a wide portfolio of projects as shown on the deck, and this is guided by key values and key principles as to why we exist. Safety first, care for people and the environment, integrity, excellence, collaboration, and innovation, which shape how the company builds partnerships. And no wonder we've spread our feet across the entire continent with strategic partnerships stretching from as far as the USA, Europe, the Middle East, Malaysia, South Africa, and this list continues to grow. So in doing so, UNOC positions itself not merely as a commercial operator, but a steward of Uganda's oil and gas resources for the benefit of future generations. The mandate of the Kabalega Petrobest Industrial Park sets us back as far as 2018, like our chairman indicated, when the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development handed over the development, operationalization, and the management of the park to UNOC. And UNOC executes this mandate through our dedicated subsidiary, the Uganda Refinery Holding Company, established to develop, operate, and manage both the refinery and the Petrobest Industrial Park. And the land allocation, investor onboarding, infrastructure, delivery, and governance are all run through this subsidiary. This industrial park spans just under 30 square kilometers, which is approximately 7,307 acres, a green development in Kabale sub-county in Hoima district, which is about 50 kilometers west of Hoima city, near Lake Albert. And it has anchor projects, as indicated earlier by our chairman, which is the crude export hub, the refinery, the pump station, the second international airport, and the termination of the feeder lines from Tilenga and Kingfisher developments. The park has 6 zones: the heavy industrial zone that hosts the refinery, petrochemical complex, fertilizer plant, polymer production, bonded warehousing, and a free trade area. Then the second zone will host light to downstream industries which covers textiles, automotive parts, biofuels, and packaging. Zone 3 will be an agri-zone that covers fruits, vegetables, dairy, and meat. Then Zone 4 is a business park which provides for warehousing, cold chain, retail, and hospitality. And Zone 5 is the estate area which will offer housing from low to high density alongside schools, health centers, and technology campus. Then Zone 6 will be an administrative zone which will host the park's headquarters with the one-stop business center that will host most of the government agencies that are critical enablers for the park. So everything that I'll describe this morning follows a blueprint, the KIP, or Kabalega Industrial Park Master Plan. This was developed for the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development by SMEC International, and a member of the Surubana Jurong Group, and was completed in 2017. And it was subsequently approved by the National Planning Fiscal Board in 2018, and it gives this park its legal standing and its 6-zone structure. The land for the park was acquired by the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development. Again, it followed cabinet decision, which culminated into transferring of titles, with UNOC holding a lease to strengthen the investment outlook for the project. So both UNOC and our subsidiary, Uganda Refinery Holding Company, we are the administrators of this land on behalf of government, and we are able to offer this land to investors on terms that will be described during this presentation. Of course, any project has to put into consideration environmental and social safeguards. A project of this scale touches sensitive ecosystems, land, water, community systems, so environmental diligence has been built in from the outset. A strategic environmental and social impact assessment was completed in 2017 as part of the master plan process, examining the park's cumulative risks across construction, operations, up to decommission, and setting out a management plan covering land uptake, air, water quality, waste management, and community health and safety aspects. So the Ministry of Water and Environment approved the park's environmental and social impact assessment in 2023, covering a 20-kilometer radius from the center of the park. And that approval does not end without due diligence. In line with the National Environment Act, every individual project that will be housed in the park, the refinery, the airport, and each industrial facility still requires its own detailed assessment, reviewed and approved by NEMA before any construction begins. And that's a discipline UNOC applies without exception. Our chairperson has touched on the steering committee, but indeed the steering committee will be chaired or is chaired by the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development, with representations from different government agencies, including Petroleum Authority of Uganda, UIA, the Uganda Free Zones Authority, Ministry of Works, Ministry of Trade, among other several institutions. That's not the only governance that we have. Governance oversight for the Kabalega Petrol-based Industrial Park is anchored in the board of the Uganda Refinery Holding Company, chaired by Director Dr. Ivan Nule, who's present here with us. As the governing organ of the Uganda Refinery Holding Company, the board provides strategic direction and oversight for the park's development, ensuring that decision-making and land allocation investor onboarding, and infrastructure delivery is guided by sound corporate governance, accountability, and in alignment with UNOC's broader mandate. There is a stage gate process that also guides all the critical decisions that we make. And this has been highlighted by the chairperson, but just to re-emphasize that, of course, we engage the investors, they express interest, they're evaluated by a land allocation technical committee, and then subsequent to that, there is an RFP process or request for proposals, which details full legal, financial, technical aspects, which we have to do a detailed due diligence on. And then subsequent to that, governance approvals through the executive committee and the board, investment committee, and finally, the main board for UNOC. And subsequent to that, of course, we get into contracting, which covers the leases and execution with site handover. So I'm happy to report that, of course, this project is bankable, and it was approved through the PIMS process under Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. And that listing followed the industrial park's successful passage through the Development Committee review process for our project concept, the pre-feasibility, and finally the feasibility study under the Public Investment Management System, which means that today we have approval through the system of a project close to $800 million of infrastructure. And I'll walk through what the priorities are in terms of the phased approach for this industrial park. The infrastructure is the single largest determinant of investor confidence at a greenfield site, such as this industrial park. And that is why UNOC, through the subsidiary Uganda Refinery Holding Company, has structured the park's infrastructure delivery into 3 costed phases, with phase 1 totaling to about $120 million, covering access roads, perimeter fence, the 4 gates, watchover towers, water and wastewater reticulation within the park with a treatment plant, medium voltage to low voltage power reticulation, IT and data center access within the park, a site office, business facilitation center, and then the police and fire stations. Then phase 2 will cost about $347 million, which will encompass upgrading of 20-kilometer gravel to tarmac, plus 20-kilometer new gravel, totaling to about 40-kilometer single carriageway road network. It will have an expansion of the water, IT, and power reticulation within the park, and a satellite police post, fire station, and warehousing, including cold chain facilities. And phase 3, equally $347 million, covering 24-kilometer single carriageway, plus the upgrade of the 40-kilometer single carriageway to dual carriageway, full capacity water, IT, power reticulation systems, and advanced fire equipment, rescue services, plus security protocols. So that totals to about $814.46 million. Phase 1, which is estimated at $120 million, is where our commercial and financial agreements are concentrated today. Cabinet has approved the financing for this phase through EKF, and it's designed to unlock every subsequent phase of this park's development. The design and procurement work is what turns a funded phase into a construction site. And here is the sequence. Phase 1 was detailed roads, water, power, wastewater, fencing, which was completed in 2025 in terms of designs. Then approval of phase 1 was given through the government procurement protocols. We've started construction of the UNOC site, which is still ongoing, and hopefully we'll close this by August. And the 86-kilometer scope of the road reticulation within the park, we awarded that to a sister company, NEC, with a target completion of August 2027. We all know about the 240 megawatt substation, which is currently at 85% completion, but this is being run by UETCL, again, a sister company. And the updated master plan for the park was to reflect the revised road network, incorporating the topography, the naming of the streets, and the survey and the demarcation of the plots, which was completed. So at full build-out, this park will require approximately 34,000 cubic meters of water per day, plus a further 9,600 cubic meters a day for the refinery scope alone, which will be drawn by gravity from a reservoir that will be set at Kigaga Hill. And power for this park will come from the 240 megawatt substation, which I highlighted is at 85% complete. So before I speak of plans, let me speak of what is already on ground as well as we prepare for this. We prepare this park for investors here and everyone watching this broadcast. UNOC, through our subsidiary, has delivered the following ahead of the main infrastructure contracts. The roads, we've already opened up 11 kilometers as a pilot phase for investor access, and 86 kilometers will be opened up by a sister company, NEC. Then water, 10 boreholes been drilled to support phase 1 and phase 2 ahead of the main water reticulation network. Land preparation, over 400 acres have been scheduled for bush clearing and boundary demarcation in August 2026. Power, like I said, 240 megawatts, substation is on course. The security aspects, we maintain bi-monthly coordination meetings with UPDF, Uganda Police, and local leadership on security and emergency preparedness, and the site office, which is under construction. And all these works are supervised by our subsidiary. The land allocation policy and service fee framework is clear, and I want every investor watching us this morning to hear this clearly as well, that land at KIP is provided free of charge compared to what we see in most of the industrial parks in other jurisdictions to qualified investors. There is no purchase price for that land and no lease premiums. The only charge that is applicable is the service fee, which was approved by Cabinet, which is also a recurring fee that will support the park's infrastructure and shared services to put it at the level of a world-class standard for every tenant. Cabinet approved that framework in 2025, structured to sustainably cover costs of operating and maintaining the infrastructure, capital replacement, security, emergency response, and shared services. Cabinet set 3 tiers: general industries at $1.5 per square meter per year, priority industries, meaning petrochemicals, fertilizers, downstream and agro-based industries, were put at a subsidized fee of $1.25, and the residential developments at $1 per square meter per year. These rates were benchmarked against leading industrial parks in East Africa and beyond, and set below most regional peers to offset the risk of investing in a greenfield site. And just by way of example, we have some comparators. Industrial parks in Tanzania, they have a cost of $1 per square meter per year. Namamve, 1.19. Kenya Athi, 3.12. Konza in Kenya, 3.12. In Thailand, the special economic zone, 0.723, which is almost graded like ours. Then South Africa in Richards Bay at 8.4. So land allocation itself allows and follows a published policy developed alongside this fee framework and executed exclusively by UNOC through the 5-gate process that I touched on earlier. So free land is never a loophole because it's governed and it will have opportunity for everyone to participate with transparency across the process. A park of this scale carries a carbon and land use footprint, no question about that. But we do not treat that lightly. Alongside our infrastructure work, our subsidiary runs a tree planting program across the park and its surrounding communities, restoring cleared land through grassing, reforestation, and partnering with schools and youth groups on tree nurseries, and working with the district authorities and environmental officers to protect the habitats around this park. To date, we've planted over 12,000 trees in the park as part of our UNOC Green Initiative. It is a modest program today, but a deliberate investment in the park's identity as Uganda's flagship smart and eco-industrial hub, not simply an industrial zone. 10 investors have been recommended for the award of land under Phase 1 across 197.5 acres, generating a combined service fee of over $1 million US. Their projects span from LPG storage to steel drum manufacturing, media broadcasting infrastructure, fertilizer production, plastics, batteries, industrial gases, aviation cargo, and maintenance, already showing a breadth of industry in this park that it's built to host. And you will meet several of those players shortly. Before scaling the KIP land allocation policy to the full market, we validated it through a controlled pilot, testing the policy manually on a defined universe of unsolicited applicants already in its pipeline. And this approach allowed UNOC to identify gaps, build institutional capacity, and prove to the governance bodies, including our board, that the market, that KIP's onboarding framework is credible, structured, and the governance is complied with. The pilot projects ran for two parallel programs using the same 5-stage gate process. Phase 1, with a cutoff 30th July 2025, which recommended 6 investors, including Total Energies, Movit Products, Roofings, Next Media, Luero Industries, Ventotia Capital, and this was across 163 acres. And Lot 1 targeted priority industries and recommended 4 investors: Uganda Airlines, Nice House of Plastics, Uganda Batteries, Briande Investments, across 85 acres. Phase 2 will move fully digital via the KIP portal, which we are launching today. Phase 2 is what we are opening today, and this is the heart of the address this morning. From today, UNOC is releasing 221 plots, totaling to 536.92 acres across 7 investment zones for expression of interest, submission through the portal that we are going to launch. The heavy industrial zone will have 9 plots. Downstream industrial zone will have 15 plots. Light industrial zone will have 14 plots. Agriculture zone will have 8 plots. Commercial business zone will have 66 plots. High density residential will have 37 plots. And low density residential will have 72 plots, totaling to 221 plots in an area of 536.92 acres. At full subscription, the land release generates an approximated $2.77 million in annual service revenue and $221,000 in one-off application fee, a combined first-year potential of slightly under $3 million. Even at a conservative 50% conversion rate, the first-year revenue is estimated at $1.6 million because application fees are collected at the time of expression of interest, regardless of the final award. So what happens next? For every investor asking what to do now, the KIP investor portal is open today for registration, site visit booking, and expression of interest submission. Requests for proposals and due diligence will run from September to November 2026 this year. Formal land award and site handover for successful phase 2 applicants is targeted for December 2026 into January 2027. To our phase 1 investors, your sublease terms are clear: a performance bond of 10% of land value, an 18-month development obligation, and site handover time to shared infrastructure readiness. And UNOC will meet you at each of these milestones. The turnaround time is highlighted as indicated in the deck. Marketing and promotional campaigns, we commenced those in June 2026. Investor online registration, national launch, which we are having today, and post-launch site visit, a booking promotion targeted for till 22nd July 2026. Site visits will be planned for 29th July up into 12th August 2026. Then we'll call for expression of interest and evaluate those expressions of interest till September 2026. And then, of course, that will follow through the request for proposal into October 2026. Then we'll call for those requests and evaluate the proposals, and then do a due diligence with the hope of concluding this process within January 2027. And then we'll go through the requisite protocols of approval, and we hope to sign the lease agreements in February 2027 and award the land and site to be handed over in March 2027. The KIP Investor Portal is a unified digital platform that centralizes investment intelligence, streamlines investor onboarding, and enables real-time engagement between KIP management and prospective investors worldwide. It will offer a single entry point for all inquiries, documents, deal tracking, real-time analytics through live dashboards on site availability, incentives, rescue, institutional-grade data room with tiered access, and smart matchmaking that aligns investors to opportunities across all the sectors. Of course, it will be backed up by a 24-hour investor response time, fully digital onboarding, and over 100 investment opportunities. The timing is strategic. Uganda's first oil production is imminent, and the investor appetite is surging. KIP sits at the refinery nexus with unique downstream value chains. Global ESG mandates demand transparent digital investment framework, and regional peers such as Rwanda, Kenya, Ethiopia are running similar portals on their own. So today we'll go live with this portal. Why this KIP matters for Uganda? The chairperson has already touched on the numbers, but I want to give a little broader context on these numbers. If you have two big infrastructure projects, the refinery and the industrial park, with macroeconomic benefits for the refinery, as an example, impact to GDP, 3.3 billion, balance of payments, 591 million per year, net fiscal impact, about 804 million per year, national capital formation of about 8.2 billion per year. That's for the refinery scope. Coupled with the industrial park scope, with a GDP impact of 4.9 billion US dollars per year, balance of payments of 849 million per year, net fiscal impact of 1.2 billion per year, and the national capital formation of 11.9 billion per year, with a job spread between 32,000 to 35,000 jobs, there is all merit in us pushing the industrialization agenda. So in my closing, from a mandate handed to us in January 2018 to a master plan approved in June 18, to land now held and governed by one of our subsidiaries, to getting 814 million US dollars of infrastructure recognized as a bankable priority national project, to 10 investors already on ground and 221 plots now open. This is what 8 years of disciplined government-backed delivery looks like. So the 10 investors have shown us that this is possible. 221 plots now ask you to join. So please join the industrialization agenda for Uganda. KIP is open for business. Thank you so much for God and my country.